The Auburn Tigers fall 28-21 to the Ole Miss Rebels. Let's talk about it today on the Uptempo podcast.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, Auburn family? How are we doing today? It's Blake and Dustin. We're back for another episode, and the Auburn Tigers fall last night inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium, 28-21. Dustin, you were there, man. I hope you had a blast. I know you want to tell us all about it. But first, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, man. I got my eye over here on the Bucks, but you won't believe this, but one of my football teams just gave up a 3rd and long. My goodness. I haven't seen that ever in my life. Yeah, man, just hoping for a dub today. My Bucks are tied 10-10 here with about a minute to go in the second with the Atlanta Falcons. And I haven't won a football game, pro or college, Blake, in like 2 to 3 weeks. But we're here to talk about Auburn, and our Auburn Tigers haven't won one in at least 5. We've got four L's in a row here, and then we had that bye week. So got to go all the way back to Samford, man. That big Samford Bulldog victory. To find a victory. Tough times, man. But yeah, I had a good time. The Auburn family showed out like we always do. Before I get into it, with a shout out to everybody that came up to me and had kind words, man. Appreciate meeting all the fans. Had a great time. Shout out to my guy Ethan that came up to me in J&M and said he loves the show. Wanted to tell you hello as well, Blake. Some of your other guys, I'm forgetting y'all's name, but we appreciate y'all. So had a good time, man. Haley, Jazzy, it was good to see the family and all that. And but I gotta be real with you, Blake. I'm tired of going up to Auburn and coming away talking about how good of a time I have because I don't have a victory to talk about. It's getting old, man.
Well, Dustin, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you or anybody else, but that's why I'm not there, brother.
This is going to be my last year for a long time.
Yeah, and I can't blame you. I can't blame you. Man, when you sit down and you watch it on the TV, that place was rocking last night. Absolutely rocking. Do you hear me? You could feel it. You could feel the energy. And then I look up in the fourth quarter and we've thrown for 45 yards. 45 yards. That was a real stat. Against the 82nd best defense in the country, we had thrown for 45 total yards.
Crazy, man.
And Dustin, we get on here and we talk about it should be this quarterback. It should be that quarterback. It's 9 time. Some people fight for Peyton Thorne. At this point, I don't know who it should be anymore. I really don't. It all looks bad. There was boos in the stadium last night. And like we talked about last episode, don't boo a player, all right? And that didn't happen. But you could hear on the TV, the boo birds were starting to come out when the rotation of the quarterback started happening, all right? Dustin, talk a little bit about that and some of the rotations. The one that got me was 3rd and 1. We want to bring Peyton in. We get an illegal substitution. We move back to 3rd and 6, and then we put Robbie back in the game. What are we doing? What are we doing?
The same thing that we've done for 7 games. I mean, it's like I said when we gave our prediction, and you take away this garbage time touchdown, Blake, and we both said 31-17. It would have been 28-14. The game played out the way that me and you expected it to play out. Defense, guys like Marcus Harris just keeping you in the game, playing their ass off. What a game from Keldrick Falk, get into all that. Crowd keeping you in, like you said, the place was jumping, man. But what I love to do, Blake, is I love to watch the old heads, man. The Auburn fans that got some gray hair and got a few years under them.
Yep.
And because they're experienced, they know. If they've watched the Barfields, they've been through the good times, they've watched the Pat Dyes, they've been through the bad, they've seen everything. And they just – a lot of them, I'm sitting there talking to them, and they're just like, man, I've never seen this. Because you've seen bad game plans, right? We've all seen a bad offensive game plan from Auburn. Hell, I've seen a 4th and 2 versus Alabama where Auburn was still in the game, where Gus Malzahn trotted out our fullback and took a direct snap with him and had him throw the ball. I saw a play versus Clemson where we had 3 quarterbacks on the field at one time. I've seen some tight end sweep passes under Gus. I've seen it all. But for 7 games, to see the continued rotation at quarterback and the situation that you played out bro, it was, yeah, that's when the boo birds come out.
Yep.
And I want to be very clear on that because I was there and I heard what was being said. I heard the people booing that were standing right beside, like it was not about Peyton or Robbie. People were booing and then screaming, pick a guy. And when we got that penalty, man, the frustration, because like this is literally how it went. Okay. You hype yourself up all day. You know that you have to play your role. And the game starts and, you start booging a little bit and you've been the tiger walk, the eagle flies, and okay, we can do this. You fool yourself full of the hope, right? It's intoxicating. It's hard to not do that. Yeah. And then as it plays out, listen, we saw Robbie come out in the first drive, and I had talked to our guy Mike G earlier in the day, and he was saying all along that was the game plan, that Robbie is going to get the first drive, but don't get excited. They're going to continue to do this system. And Hugh said after the game, we're going to do this. Auburn will do this as long as Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford is on the roster. They're not going to change it. Hugh's made that clear in press conferences, and he made that abundantly clear last night. So I don't think – so to answer your question, Blake, I don't kind of dancing all around it. I don't think Hugh thinks it's a problem. Now, we look at it, and we think that 3rd and 1 is better than 3rd and 6. We look at it versus Cal, and we say, okay, we have the situation here. Okay, A&M, we have the situation here. We can go down the list of times we have that exact scenario play out, and we continue to do it. So at this point, 7 games in, I think that Hugh does not think that is a problem, and Hugh is not bothered by 3rd and 1 versus 3rd and 6. And you can say, Dustin, well, that's stupid. And I hear you. You know what I'm saying? But all I can do is look at what I want. All I can do is look and analyze, right? And if you continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again and you don't change it, then I have to start to think that he doesn't think it's a mistake. So I don't think that Hugh Freeze thinks that rotation of quarterback, that swapping of personnel had anything to do with that penalty. I'm not saying it did or didn't. I'm just saying at this point, I don't think he thinks that's why. Now, if that's true or not, I'm not sure. It sure does look to me like it happens an awful lot when we do that. And I watch a whole lot of football, and I don't see any other teams doing that. But who am I to argue with the guy that knows it?
It was even the play call after Robbie come back in. We hand the ball off to Jarquez.
We did that backed up too. Remember when we were backed up on a possession? I don't remember the exact time of the game. We were backed up, and then we changed quarterbacks, bring in Peyton to hand it off to Robbie, or to hand it off on 3rd down. And obviously we don't get it. And it's like 3rd and 6 and you're backed up. I actually kind of understand being conservative there. But again, if you were going to run the ball there, why did you bring in Peyton Thorne? Was it, I think they're going to think we're going to pass with Thorne here, so then we'll actually hand it off. Like, if you're going to run it there, keep in the run threat. And look, I know that the passing numbers are there, and I'm not saying that like Robbie lit it up or nothing in the air, but like the couple of plays where he was just kind of scrambling around in the dink and dunks. Again, I'm not saying Robbie Ashford's the best quarterback in the world. What I'm saying is that off-schedule stuff, to me, just appears like the best thing for our offense right now. The first drive of the game where he almost got the first down, he came up just short. There's another one where I feel like he reached out and got the first down. I'm not sure where the hell the spot came from. Similar to the ball that he hit on the goal line, ultimately scored the next play with Jarquez and the Wildcat. But I thought that was a crap call as well on Robbie's interception. An over the back foul in football. I mean, like clearly a pass interference. The guy just trucks VAR and gets the interception. It wasn't the greatest pass in the world, but the officiating was sketchy. Probably sketchy on both sides. If I went back and looked at it, it just seemed like a bad officiating crew. But yeah, man, it's killing the flow, Blake. And it's why I tweeted out during the game. It's sucking the life out of the stadium. Yeah. And I mean that. Like when the QBs get rotated, it sucks the life out of Jordan Hare. The fans are completely over it. And then it's not working. So you suck it out. Everybody, and like those were the boos because, like, again, they were followed by words and everyone's saying, "What are we doing? I'm sick of this." It wasn't even pro Robbie or pro Peyton last night, Blake. It was pro pick a guy. Yeah, just pick somebody was what everybody was begging. And walking out of that stadium, And again, you get to see Auburn fans filing out super early. I'm not going to file out of a game with 8 minutes to go down 2 touchdowns. That's kind of stupid in my opinion. And you saw an onside kick, and all of a sudden you're on and popping, and damn near an empty stadium at that point. I was still there, but yeah, man, I get the frustration. It's really aggravating, and it's just confusion. And I think that everybody was just confused. And at this point, I don't think that the anger or frustration is directed at Thorne or directed at at Robbie. Or I didn't hear a whole lot of, well, put Holden in there or anything like that. And by the way, I saw Holden sneak onto the field. That didn't fool anybody. But yeah, man. So just a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, and you can't make it make sense to us, but it makes sense to the guys that are making the decisions. So I think that just the fan base, the results and the fan base are at odds with the head coach right now. I really don't know any other way to put that.
Well, look, I want to ask you this. Going back to the first drive of the game, we get the ball around midfield. We got a 4th and 2. We decide to go for it. Robbie, he doesn't get it. How did you feel about that, Dustin? Because I'll tell you, I hated it. I did not like that. All right. And that early in the game, like I always tell you and the guys at the War Report and the College Loop, I am not a fan of going for it on 4th down in the first half. I'm not. I hate it. I think it's stupid. If you don't get it there, you give Ole Miss 48 yards to score. I think that's with the way Jackson Dart and that offense had been playing up to that point in the season. Like we said the other night, they were a walking 30 burger. Yeah. And we kept them from 30. And you handed them 7 points on a silver platter to open the game up. Handed them 7 points.
Yeah, it was frustrating.
I mean, I don't understand why we wouldn't punt the ball there, Dustin. All right, you got Oscar Chapman. That's a weapon. That's a weapon. He can pin somebody inside the 20, the 15, or even the 10. Why are we not doing that? The way our defense has played this year, why are we not doing that? And then you even get to see that Jackson Dart wasn't even on his game last night. He was mid last night. You got the 2022 version of Jackson Dart last night. He threw a pick. And we said on the preview show, that's what Auburn had to do, is force him into a turnover and throw a pick. And we did that. DK returned it for 40 yards down the sideline. We're set up in position, and we can't capitalize on anything. Nothing. I don't get it. Dustin, what did you think about going for it there?
Yeah, because if you pin them deep, then, and me and you see we see the game a lot alike in that sense of just play the game out, man. It's a 4-quarter game. Take the points. There's no reason to get crazy. You're not going to win the game on the first drive. Even if you go down here and score, you're not going to win it right now. Yeah, you punt them, you pin them deep, and they face that Jordan Hare crowd. And they're back at the 10, 15-yard line. And, and then you get a stop. And all of a sudden you get field position, which your offense desperately needs. Instead, they come right out and score when you've already lost 3 games at that point in a row. Yeah, then the whole crowd goes, ugh. All right, we got to hype us. You got to hype yourself. That's man, good God, at the amount of digging deep into your Auburn fandom and hyping yourself up you have to do these days, right? I just thought I didn't like it at all, man. And obviously it didn't work out. And my main problem with it, Blake, is show me a crucial 3rd or 4th and short this year we've converted. And I'll, just point out one to me.
Man, look, you mentioned old heads, right? Well, I always watch the game with my pops and everything. So we're sitting there last night, first drive. They decide to go for it. Man, my dad lost it. Yeah. He lost it. And I was sitting, right next to him and everything. And I was like, man, what are we doing? And when my dad gets fired up like that, I know, hey, he's pissed off. All right. Like he's to the point where he's wanting to go to Auburn and say like, hey, what's the deal? Like, why are we going for it here? Okay. It ain't like you're still in a possession there. No, what it was is like we fumbled the football at the 50. That's what it was. It's a turnover. It's a turnover. And that's what my dad was saying last night, man. He was like, I just don't understand why we're going for it in that position that early in the game with the way your defense has played this year. You know, like I don't understand some of the things that we do. I don't understand the play calls. I don't think anybody understands the play calls. I don't understand some of the personnel issues. I mean, Caleb Burton. Why are we not getting the ball to Caleb Burton?
Because Blake, he has good weeks in practice, and we start him, and then we don't get in the reps of throwing the ball. He gets rewarded with a start.
Yeah, he gets a start, and then when you do throw it to him, he catches it. All right. Yeah. Jay Fair. Why are we only going to Jay Fair one time?
Rivaldo sure did start to eat when he started getting the ball thrown to him, didn't he?
Exactly. Like Rivaldo, what do you have? 6 catches, 7 catches, something like that. I can't remember. I'm not looking at the stats or anything like that. But I don't get some of the personnel stuff that we do. You know, and I saw Jake Crane say today that a lot of Auburn fans want to start going more up-tempo because right there at the end of the game, you started seeing more up-tempo and everything. Well, that's also, too, when Ole Miss is rushing 3, dropping 8 at the end of the game, up 2 scores. That's why you kind of see Auburn start dinking and dunking here and completing some more stuff. But Jake said, you know, it's hard for Auburn to go up-tempo because you're not successful on 1st and 2nd down. So you're getting into 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, and you're not getting it. So if you go up tempo, you're having to punt, and then your defense is having to go out on the field. All right, they get a stop, and then you come right back to up tempo. You don't get a 1st down. You don't move the football, and then your defense is right back on the field. All right, so I don't know what the answer is for this offense. I don't think there is an answer for this offense, Dustin. I don't. I think we're at a lost cause right now because we said we wanted Robbie. All right. We look up in the 4th quarter, we've thrown for 45 yards. It's not working. I'm not saying that Robbie doesn't make the offense better or whatever. I'm just saying it's not working. Okay. We're not going to win SEC games with Robbie at quarterback. All right. Peyton, it's not working. All right. He's not it. He's not the answer. We're not going to win SEC football games with Peyton Thorne as our starting quarterback. Holden Garner, not going to happen. We don't have a guy on the roster that can help us compete in this league. We don't. It's proven. I've seen 7 games this year. Peyton Thorne was a miss. We don't have that guy, man. I really feel like when people say that Auburn is a quarterback away, Dustin, we do have other things wrong on the roster, but we beat Ole Miss last night if we have a quarterback.
There's so much to this. So this is where I'm at. So I'm looking at that recruiting section. The recruiting continues to go well. You know, we felt like we got some commitments yesterday. That will be announced soon. The recruiting section was packed. They never left. They stayed the whole game. That's a big difference than what I saw versus Penn State last year, where the boys cleared out midway through the 2nd quarter. There's a lot of big time guys there. I went and saw Cam Coleman Friday night. The man put up 298 yards, 4 touchdowns on Auburn High. Just an absolute clinic, dude. Honestly, bro, I haven't seen anything like it up close in person since I was, with Trent Richardson at Escambia High in Pensacola. Just a surefire, like, this guy is going to hit. There's no way he can miss That's how I feel about Cam Coleman. If Cam Coleman's a 5-star, then you give him 5 more because he's a freaking 10-star. I can't put it. A guy like that shows up, right? Wasn't even supposed to be there. Ryan Williams. Boy, there's a lot of smoke there. So I see the dudes. Me and you've seen Perry up close. We know what he's all about. We saw that catch in the corner of the end zone versus Baker. We know what that kid's made of.
Yep.
So the argument of guys are on the way and they're not on the roster, everyone knows I ride with that. Everyone knows how much I value recruiting. And I said from the get-go, Hugh doesn't have the guys he needs. The red flags and questions that I have are in the way the quarterbacks are being used. So do we have a guy that is that dude? I don't think so either. I agree with you. Now, I think Holden Geriner is going to be a good quarterback. I hope it's at Auburn. But my argument for Holden is this. I don't think that the personnel is there for Holden to showcase his capabilities right now. I think Holden is the kind of guy that needs a handful of receivers that he can stand back and throw it around to. I bet if you put Holden Geriner on Tennessee and started him week 1, he'd be finding his groove right now. I believe that. You know, because there's something happened last night that kind of slapped the whole experience argument in the face. I'm not saying experience doesn't matter, but at some point people just got to get it. And there's Emory Williams is a true freshman, 18 years old from my hometown here in Pensacola. He's actually from Milton, which is like right beside Milton or Mobile Theodore type thing, right? Mm-hmm. Tyler Van Dyke is hurt or whatever. I know he's had his ups and downs in Miami. He doesn't play last night. Kid steps in as a true freshman, wins the game. I know he didn't light it up, but he did what was necessary to win the game and made the plays for Miami to win the game. Experience be damned. True freshman, 18 years old, at quarterback. It's not about, I think Holden can step in and do some things at some programs right now. I don't think we have the guys. I don't think that Shane Hooks, Jair Shorter, Jay Fair, Cam Brown, any of these guys, Omar Kelly, I don't think this core of wide receivers, and I'm not crapping on them individually, these guys as a group collectively is not a good enough group for Holden to showcase what he can do. They're not going to bring out the best in Holden. Holden's going to step back, throw the ball where the ball's supposed to be, and they're not going to be there. That's just the fact of the matter. So I don't think that Holden, you know what I mean? Like, I hope this is the way the phone call went with his parents this week. Hello, Mr. Geriner. We're just keeping him on the shelf because we ain't got the dudes. Please don't transfer. I hope that was kind of the tone of that. But for the other two guys, man, I think it's Robbie for the standpoint of his legs. And I'm not saying Robbie Ashford's all SEC. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. I'm just saying that our offense is so bad that extra dynamic is needed. And if he's not the most accurate passer in the world, the other guy's not the most accurate passer in the world. So at least there's some kind of big play capability with like, again, on some of those plays that I hate doing this. On the one where they missed the obvious face mask, I can't remember exactly how many yards Thorne picked up on that one. But that's a good run, a good read, and a good play by Thorne. But if you give Robbie that hole, he might house it. And again, that's my problem with him taking him off the field so much. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I remember games with Nick Marshall where we completed 2 or 3 passes and won the game. Now, yes, different scenario, different dynamic and all that. But that's where I because I tweeted out today, I now have questions about Hugh Freeze. And people are obviously taking that the wrong way. Oh, my God. Brother, his resume at Auburn started game 1 versus UMass. I'm allowed to now observe and ask questions. And I'm asking, why on 3rd and 1 all season have you rotated quarterbacks to the detriment of the team? Because, again, I think, like I said earlier, I think he thinks it works, Blake. I think he thinks it's the right decision because he keeps making it. But it keeps working out negatively. So it doesn't appear to work to anybody else. So now I'm asking, am I crazy for now saying, so hear me out here. So people are saying, we just got to get Walker White. We got to get Walker White. Let's say Walker White hits. Let's say he's everything the Auburn fan base hopes he is. How am I now to have faith that he's going to be deployed properly by this coach? You're going to point back to what he did at Liberty and Ole Miss? Well, that's fantastic. That don't do a damn for me. Any of that Ole Miss or Liberty? I'm judging Auburn. And what I've seen from 7 games, And then the answer that was given last night, that it's not the problem. Well, I don't think it's the whole problem. I think that the job that Gus Malzahn did in recruiting his last couple of years, the complete lack of care that Brian Harsin put into recruiting, all of those things. Hear me out when I say this. I want to make this very clear. We might have to clip this. I don't want Hugh Freeze fired.
Yeah.
But guess what's going to happen in basketball this season? And Blake, you know I love Bruce Pearl. There's going to be times where I come in and say, maybe that final, play call to Wendell wasn't it. Maybe Wendell's 0 for 6 in late game shot scenarios, and we probably should have drawn it up for somebody different that time. We're allowed to look and criticize and question, and I think it's fair after the 7 games that we've seen, 2012 level type Auburn offense. I think it's fair to ask some questions. And I want to get your answer on this, Blake. We know it's the first year, right? We know that the cupboard was bare. You will not hear me until, if this continues, let's say this continues into year 2. That's when you'll hear me start to say, okay, what in the world? But right now, all I'm saying is red flags. Red flags can be taken down. I'm not jumping on the Hugh Freeze got to go. I don't believe in Hugh Freeze. None of that. I'm just saying I'm raising a red flag. I can hop on that string and pull it right back down. They can figure it out. But I want to ask you this, Blake. In 2008, we went 5-7, right? Tubbs gets fired, all that. Cody Burns, Chris Todd, not the world's best quarterback room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Hugh's buddy Gus figure out a way to make that offense competent? We went 8-5. I'm not saying we lit the world up, but were we not competent on offense that year with a lack of weapons? Yeah. Isn't it possible?
Yeah. And I think that's why majority of the fan base is so frustrated right now, because we keep seeing the same thing over and over and over. And now that you're 7 weeks in, people are saying, hey, why haven't we seen a change? All right. Because obviously what you're doing isn't working. All right. So you throw Robbie out to start the game. And the only reason I think they did that is because the entire internet was saying 9 time, and they wanted to get a big reaction out of the crowd. All right. And then right after the first drive, you pull him. All right. And there goes the starting of the rotation of quarterbacks. And you keep seeing the same result. And at the end of the day, when somebody does that, it's called craziness, because I mean, you look at it and you say, hey, when you continually do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, and it doesn't work, you're crazy. All right. So I really, when I break it down, Dustin, I really do feel like Hugh Freeze kind of looks at this season and he says, hey, it might get bad and it might look ugly, but just hang on. Just hang on with me. All right. Just hang on. But then that makes me look crazy, because I'm sitting there telling our fan base, hey, I'm tired of you having this losing mentality. Like, I'm tired of you walking into Jordan-Hare Stadium going, well, I come back and, we're going to lose. Like Dustin said, I don't know why I went up there this Saturday. I mean, it was a blast, but, man, I'm tired of driving back home a loser. And I'm sitting here going, man, hey, like, we got to stop having that attitude where we're going into Jordan-Hare and we're going to lose to Georgia and we're going to lose to Ole Miss and all this. But at the end of the day, Dustin, I really do feel like he's just kind of looking at it as like, hey, I'm here to recruit. All right. And then you got the Auburn fans out there that say, well, hey, we're 9th in the SEC in recruiting. So I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words for what I saw last night. I don't know. I don't know what to turn to. I don't.
No. So here's where I'm at with it, and I think this is fair. When you let's use this analogy. When you become the head coach at Auburn, there's a good path, there's a bad path. Right path, wrong path. Which one are you going to start off on? And this is so tough because recruiting and on the field are completely different. But I think that right now, since the season started, and we'll just keep it on the field, I think Hugh's headed down the wrong path. And what I mean is, and he's not too far down it, but Brian Harsin started walking down that path in terms of recruiting.
Yep.
And then the on-field stuff showed itself eventually, but he started off 6-2. But there was a lot of stuff going. That was all smoke and mirrors, right? There was a lot of stuff happening where that was never going to stand. Bo got hurt, and all the problems showed themselves. You saw how fractured that locker room was. There was a lot of culture issues, and a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And so he gets started off on the wrong path, and he kept going. And then whenever that crucial first offseason after Harsin's first year hit, he had a choice to make. He could have really started recruiting. We all know what happened with the investigation and everything and all the noise and the embarrassment that was for everybody. And he wanted to stick it to everybody, and do his thing and keep doing it the way that he was doing it. And he continued down that wrong path, and it never got right. And what he didn't do was he never built himself any side roads to get back on the right path via recruiting, right? Mm-hmm. So Hugh's going down the wrong path, but I feel like he's got a whole bunch of side roads he's created along the way to where he can get back right. Yeah. But the only point I'm making is right now he's headed down the wrong road. And what I mean with that is if you come out here and go 5-7, you're headed on the wrong path. Because if you start losing games next year, see, everyone says this year, well, not everyone, but this idea that this year's just a wash, this is on your resume. I'm going to keep saying that. It's a point of reference. So if we start off, I don't have the next year's schedule in front of me. Let's say we start off 4-3 next year. Then what? You go 5-7 this year, then start 4-3 next year, and you're still seeing problems on offense. Then what? That's the thing. That's the point I'm making, is that I don't care what anybody says. Losing 4 SEC games in a row is headed down the wrong. You know what I mean? Now, again, this isn't. I want to be clear in this analogy that I'm not saying this is doomed. You know what I mean? There's a ton of, hey, get some of these big time commitments. Hit on actually get a quarterback this time at the portal and hit on it, but then you got to stick with him, and that's my whole thing. Is my concern and my red flag is raised when you see a problem and you don't think it's a problem and you refuse to remedy it. I'm sitting here going, I just want to be the person that says, hey, this is concerning, because whenever Harsin wasn't recruiting well, there was a lot of people, Blake, that sunshine pumped and said, he'll figure it out. He's coming from Boise. He's got to get it. It's going to be okay. He'll get it. And he never did. It kept going that direction.
Yep.
And I was the one, I want to say the one person, like obviously the people that actually talked to the recruits, the recruiting guys were really the ones saying, hey, man, pay attention to this. This is not what it needs to be. But so I didn't mean to say that, but I was there early going, hey, even at 6-2, I was going, this is a problem. We shouldn't be losing the Connor Lews of the world because the kid wants to come to Auburn. Like, there's something's up here. Mm-hmm. We're 50th in recruiting. Something's up. This guy's not doing it. And ultimately, it showed itself. I'm not saying that Hugh Freeze's era is going to end that way. But what I'm not going to do after what I sat in that stadium and watched last night is act like that was remotely competent. What I hope is that Hugh saw how big the Auburn job was and maybe thought, he maybe got a little there's so many things I got to do. And he thought that he could kind of step away from the offense and trust a veteran guy like Philip Montgomery. I think Hugh thought, I can trust this guy to put together an offense and I can focus on other things. I think now he's found out I can't trust this guy. This is a mess. This isn't working. And he's just trying to get through the season. Yep. And it's really, really tough to wash. I just, where my issue with it comes in is you're the head coach. You're responsible for the product on the field. I wish you would just come in and just put together some kind of game plan. And at this point, I'm just cool going down with the ship. But let's pick a ship to go down with.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I always kind of felt like he just kind of viewed this season as a wash and like he wanted to recruit. And I love you saying that about Philip Montgomery and the trust thing right there is I do think people ask that all the time. They're like, well, how did you call plays at Ole Miss and Liberty and then you come to Auburn and you forget how to do everything? Well, I agree with what you said, Dustin, is because I feel like he was looking at this and going, man, hey, I trust Philip Montgomery, and I'm just going to sit back and recruit this year because we don't have the depth. We don't have the guys. All right. And look, we got the guys to compete, okay? We got the guys to compete, to hang around, but we don't have the guys to win, man. All right? We don't have the guys to win. 14-14 ball game last night. You get the ball around midfield, Dustin. You don't have the guys to win. You got a couple guys to compete, to hang around. A Jarquez Hunter get loose. You got a couple guys to compete. But you start looking at Perry Thompson's and like you said, Cam Coleman's.
That boy's so bad, bro.
Ryan Williams. All right. So but then I look at you get them on campus and you got 26 yards passing in the third quarter.
Unreal.
So it's all it's all aggravation at this point. It's all frustration, aggravation. Because we've been going down this path since 2020, man. I haven't felt good about football since COVID. Like, it's not fun. This ain't Auburn. This is the first time in 70 years, Dustin, they've beat us back to back. The first time in 70 years, bro. This ain't Auburn. Like, and I know it's year one. Nobody should be hopping off the train. Hugh will get it right, man. I truly believe he will get it right. I told you last night. I said, Hugh, he's got us. All right.
I've just gone from that to I don't know.
Hey, I understand why. I understand that, but I also look at the reason why I say he's going to get us right, Dustin, is because I look at people like Mike Norvell, all right? And Florida State was on his ass, all right? They were, hey, this guy sucks. He come from Memphis. He was a G5 coach. He's not the guy. And in my opinion, they're about to win the college football. Well, I don't know if they're going to win the national championship, but they might play for it, all right? But right now, they're looking damn good, all right? So that was a little bold of me to jump the gun and say they might win it. But they're going to be in that playoff, all right, because they're going upside. That Johnny Wilson and Cam Coleman and that Jordan Travis and that backfield they got, I mean, those dudes, they got some dogs on offense and some good ones on defense. But I look at, man, mine went blank. Tennessee, Josh Heupel. All right. I know they're not having the year that everybody thought they were, but you just look at, they were so bad for so long. All right. They were so bad for so long, Dustin. And he comes in a mediocre first year. And then second year, bang, they win 10 games. Third year, it's a building block, man. Like he had to get Tennessee back right. He had to get some guys in there because they had dudes to be competitive, but they didn't have dudes to win in the SEC. And I feel like Hugh knows what it takes, man. And I know it sucks. It sucks, right? Like, we hate doing this. Let me tell you guys something. Me and Dustin do this a lot. All right? We do this a lot, and we talk every day. And every single day we always say, man, it sucks talking about losing. Because you gotta scramble around and try to find things to say because you're down as a fan. Because I woke up this morning And I was like, man, I have no motivation. Like, after what I watched last night, zero motivation. It sucks being an Auburn fan right now. I mean, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. Then I had to hear a 30-minute phone call from my dad, Dustin, and he was just reeling things off of we suck, and I had to listen to that, and but he always keeps telling me, he's like, man, you got to give him time, first year. And another coach I'd like to point out is man, look at Mario Cristobal. People were on his ass last year. All right. He got beat by 30 by Middle Tennessee State. All right. 30. People are on his ass. And now they're 5-2 in year 2. All right.
We'll see how that finishes.
I know, but they did just beat Clemson last night.
Yeah, neither.
But he's 5-2 right now. They're gonna do better than what they did last year. I look at Brent Venables, Dustin. Brent Venables. Look, he goes out to Oklahoma. They're used to going to the college football playoff. They go 6-7 last year, and they were on his neck. Hey, you come from Clemson. You're supposed to have these great defenses, and where's it at? And now look at Oklahoma. They were battle tested yesterday. Gus Malzahn took a team in there, and they were battle tested. And they found a way to win because that's what championship teams do. Now, I don't think Oklahoma is a threat to the national title or anything, but he's recruiting his ass off. He's getting guys out there because he knows what it takes to win in the SEC because they're coming here next year, so he's going to build a defense to compete. And they were on his ass, and it's now look at him. He's winning, bro. So I know it sucks right now. I'm aggravated. I'm frustrated. I say things, and I just want to win, dude. Like, I have this passion, Dustin, where I told you and Ike the other night, when me and you were growing up, Auburn was competing for titles, bro.
Yeah.
We weren't down with Vanderbilt and Arkansas and Mississippi State and Kentucky. And that's where we're at right now. And I hate it, bro. Like, I hate it. I don't want my son to grow up and him look at me and say, Dad, why don't we ever go to Auburn games? I'm like, well, we suck. That's why, like, it's tough, man. It's aggravating.
A lot of time and money to watch, and you just don't.
Yeah. Well, look, Dustin. One thing I do want to do is I want us to talk positivity for a minute. And a guy that you were really high on was Connor Lew, right? Mm-hmm. You want to talk about his performance, what he's been doing, and you want to give any shout outs to any guys that you think played up to par last night?
Yeah. Marcus Harris, bro. Like,
yeah,
that dude is having a hell of a year. I can't imagine that NFL scouts are not watching his film from this year and salivating. I mean, the dude is straight up balling, and he gave it his all last night. He never quit. He won just about every rep from what I saw, just 8. So appreciate him, appreciate his effort. There's been a lot of times where Marcus Harris, and he's been at Auburn, has had his back up against the wall as a defender. His offense has failed him. His head coaches have failed him. His offensive staff has failed him. And he just continues to play really, really hard and make plays. And that's all that you can ask him to do. There's 11 guys out there, right? He can only do his job. So really appreciate how hard Marcus Harris played. I appreciate how hard the defense played. We're 7 games in. 6 of those games, I'm happy with the way the defense played. The one game I'm not happy with, played one of the best offenses in the country, if not the best offense in the country, on the road at night. So 48 points is never excusable. But overall, man, you're going to have bad games. And so I think that overall you can look at our defense and say they're good. So good defense. The guys continue to play hard. And with the whole turmoil, right? Like the Wesley McGriff, Ron Roberts situation, I kind of expected it to be a little bit worse. There was one play where the Ole Miss tight end was just wide open in the middle of the field. There's still some communication issues. I really need to get those squared away best we can. not too surprised with McGriff not being out there this week to see that, hopefully we can get that fixed up because these games are winnable but they're also losable. Like this idea that these Auburn fans, like me and you talk about before we hit record, people are pretending like the back half of the schedule, okay, now we're going to start winning. That's not how that works. We're a bad football team. These games are winnable. I think we win some of them.
Yep.
But we're a bad football team. There's about to be a bunch of bad football games. We're a bad team about to play a bunch of bad teams. So yeah, we'll be in there. I don't think I'll leave that for later in the week. We're gonna beat New Mexico State. But Marcus Harris played his ass off. Eugene continued to do his thing. I know the penalty was silly. I just now found out that the late hit was on Eugene. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, because I didn't, you're in the stadium. I didn't see who it was on. Yeah, that was bad. The guy was out of bounds by like 5 seconds. But Eugene's continuing to play hard. Larry Nixon playing hard. Again, I'm gonna say it every week with those guys. And with Marcus, they have to play a ton of reps.
Yep.
And that third quarter, I don't know if we picked up a first down in the third quarter. I don't think we did. We had 14 total yards in the third quarter. And you can see them. You can see them on the sideline just gassed. And they get out there and they do their thing. So appreciate all those guys for that. Keldrick Falk, man. Like you mentioned Connor Lew and Keldrick Falk. So let's do this. 2 guys up front. I don't want to see it needs to be Connor Lew the rest of the year. Connor Lew needs to start sending the rest of the year. And we're at this point. Remember what I said a couple weeks ago? We're at this point now. We're 3-4. Let these freshmen go. Let them go, man. If it's a close position battle, just let the freshmen go.
Yeah.
If the upperclassmen ain't getting it done, get the young cat in there. I got to see what they got. And maybe not all of them perform, right? But maybe we get some answers. But Connor Lew, that boy's ready. He's ready to roll. He's ready to go. He can step in for the rest of the year and start. He'll be able to start in the Iron Bowl for us. He'll be just fine. And then next year, watch out. Keldrick Falk, watch out now. Like, watch out right now. He unreal. He balled, bro. Like, I don't even know what. If you watched the game, you saw it.
Yep.
And I missed on a lot of predictions this offseason, like all of them. But I do feel good about that one. I said Keldrick was going to start turning it up, and he did. He is starting to turn it up at the exact time that I said he would, and we needed him to. I was in the locker room Friday before the game. I took a picture of Keldrick's locker and said, "We need you to step up tomorrow, big fella." And we knew we needed him to, and he did, and that's impressive to me. Mentally, look at everything he did on the field for sure, but mentally, to know I got to start tomorrow night, I got to play a lot of reps, and I got to do what I got to do. Mm-hmm. To know that and to get it done, really, really impressed with Keldrick Falk. We Kay and Lee obviously been getting a ton of reps. So Jeremiah Cobb has shown flashes. There's a lot of freshmen that we can look at, Blake, and be excited for. So yeah, Keldrick, dude, like run game, beast. Getting pressure on the quarterback, doing his thing. He's an all-around guy. I'll say it again, man. He's a first-round NFL talent. And hell, Connor Lew he gonna get drafted pretty early too. We got some guys down there in the trenches, man. The thing is, Blake, we need more of them. One guy is not enough, right? And they don't all have to be Keldrick Falk-style dogs. They don't all have to be Connor Lew-style dogs. You need a couple of those guys, but you definitely need more than one. And you need some guys that can at least help them out, especially Keldrick. So it's just depth on the D-lines, But, yeah, man, I'm really impressed with some of these freshmen that we've had to call upon. We've had to call on Kay and Lee early. And like I thought Nehemiah was playing great. He just can't get healthy this year. Yeah. Nehemiah was playing well and he gets banged up again. I'm not sure if he came back in the game. I didn't see that, but so we've had to ask a lot of freshmen to play. A lot of them are playing, and a lot of them are playing well. Another young guy, Caleb back there in the secondary doing his thing. So young guys are getting reps. I know he played a little bit last year, but young guys getting reps, man, and that is encouraging. I thought that Connor Lew stepping in at center, like that's a tough spot, man, to step in at center and to be ready to roll in a big-time SEC game, that can't be lost, man. So shout out to Connor Lew, shout out. And shout out, I'll say this, man. They've quit one game this year. Now, I'm going to continue to call out the receiver room for their loafing and woes, but overall, the team is playing hard. And down 28-14, nobody quit, Blake.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call out the fans because 28-14 with 8 minutes to go when you leaving is pure bullshit. You think I wasn't frustrated? Go back and play our LSU episode, the recap of the LSU episode. I think I just yelled for 50 minutes. We're all frustrated, man. We're all upset. We're all pissed, you know. But Marcus Harris doesn't deserve you fouling out at 28-14 because he got you a stop. And then you got a score, and I don't know what that onside kick attempt was, but what if you got it? What if you got that onside kick with 50 seconds to go, and now you're 50 yards from scoring a touchdown and tying the game? Don't you think it would help our boys out if that stadium was full?
Yep.
Versus the 10,000 that were left? Come on, man. We got to be better than that. And I get it. I'm frustrated. This losing is not Auburn football. The having to hear Hottie Toddy rang through Jordan-Hare Stadium is pretty freaking disgusting. It's pretty bad. But I'll end on this, Blake. The worst part about it is the Ole Miss fans didn't talk trash. I had one guy walk up to me and go, "What'd y'all do with Hugh Freeze?" So that's when you know you're down bad. When an SEC West rival doesn't even want to talk trash to you. Mm-hmm. They're just as confused about the product they just saw as you are. And that's kind of where we're at. So I don't have a whole lot to say other than just keep supporting the team. You know, I'm going to turn on the TV next week versus Mississippi State and put my Auburn t-shirt on. That's all I can do, man. That's really all I can do.
Yeah, Dustin, and then before I give my final thoughts, and I one play that kind of baffled me, man, and I look at where this team is right now, was Ole Miss in the second quarter lines up to kick a field goal. They botched the snap.
Drop the ball.
The holder gets up. He panics. He just tosses it up in the air. Zion Puckett picks the ball off. All right. On the 5-yard line.
Yep.
And falls down. That's bad IQ football. First off, they were kicking that field goal from what, the 15? And you intercepted on the 5? Bat the football down. All right? If anything, if all else, bat the football down. Knock it down. Your ball at the 15. Instead, you catch it and fall. So now you're at the 5 backed up against your end zone. Or if you didn't want to bat it down, you could have caught it and realized that there was nothing but fat people on the field. And a kicker and a placeholder. That's who was on the field. At least try to give me a return. Instead, you were so hyped up that you had just got a pick that you were wanting to celebrate. It's just we're not there right now, Dustin.
And what if we fall on that muff punt, Blake? What if we fall on that muff punt right before the half?
Oh, that's another thing, man. Just can't catch a break, can't make a play. And that's, you know what we always said, we said it last year, it's a sign of a what? A bad football team.
Yeah.
A bad football team. And I hate to say that, bro, because we do have talent. Like, we got talent, but we're just a bad football team right now. And I had somebody DM me, I'm not going to say a name, but I had somebody DM me and they said, how can you talk about Auburn and predict Auburn to lose? Well, let me tell you, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything, all right? And I know neither is Dustin. We're not going to get on here. Like, I saw people in the Locked On comments saying Auburn 27-24. Like, Auburn 31-23. Come on, y'all. Come on. It's time to accept that we're a bad football team.
And you're talking about people in the comments. You're not calling out anybody at Locked On.
No. I'm talking about people in their comments, like when Zach asked. When Zach
I was just saying that to get for because you know how people are.
Yeah. When he posts his stuff on Friday and says, "All right, Auburn fans, like give me score predictions,"
Right.
I go on there and I'm like, "All right, well let me look around." And I start seeing people, and they're like 31-23 Auburn. And I'm like, come on now. Like, what have you watched in the first 6 games that makes you think we're scoring 31 points? This ain't UMass rolling in here, big dog. We couldn't even score 31 points on Cal. One of the worst defenses in college football this year. They got
tell us they were good.
Yeah, they got 55 put on them by Washington. All right. So, and I know Washington's one of the best offenses in the country, but I watched them almost lose to Arizona State last night. All right. So, I don't know. And I saw our boy Ace last night. He said, well, maybe the Cal game really told us that we were a bad football team and we just didn't want to listen. Kudos to him, man. Kudos to him. I don't know. It's just a mess, man. Hopefully we can turn it around. Like I said a couple episodes ago, there's a path, there's an opportunity to win some games and get bowl eligible. But for us to sit here and say that we are going to win them games, that's a stretch, man. That's a stretch. I think you're bugging. I think you got orange and blue goggles on. And let me tell you something. I love to wear orange and blue goggles, but not right now. I just don't see it just yet. But let's go get a dub this Saturday. We're at home. I think getting Mississippi State at home is huge. They're having Mike Wright quarterback problems over there. Will Rogers is out. They beat Arkansas in an absolutely terrible, awful game to watch. It was 7-3. You still got Arkansas left on the schedule. See you, Sam Pittman. You're not going to be back. They're going through it right now. So a lot of good stuff, Dustin. But last thing I want to say here, Dustin, my final thoughts. I watched the game last night, Pac-12. A guy who won the Heisman Trophy last year. A guy that come out and said in the media that he wants part ownership of the team that drafts him in this year's NFL draft. They lost last night. All right. So they're done. They're dead. All right. They're not going to the Pac-12 championship game. They're not going to the college football playoff. They're done. His Heisman is done and everything. So I wake up this morning, Dustin. I get on Twitter. I look at it. Emmanuel Acho tweets, with national championship hopes gone, Caleb Williams should consider sitting out the rest of the season. The Heisman is a long shot. College football playoffs are even less likely, and he won't play in the bowl game. The risk of playing far outweighs the reward. It's a business decision. This is coming from a former player who played college football and in the NFL. Absolutely ridiculous. This man won the Heisman Trophy last year. USC is paying you millions in NIL. And you want to talk about 7 games in sitting out because you lost 2 games? Man, get the hell out of here. I'm so sick of this shit. And I'm sorry to say that. I'm sorry to use the language, but I am sick of it. You are teaching kids in today's world, when things don't go right, you give up. Yeah. That's what you're teaching. All right? To sit out. So what, you're just going to give up on everybody else on your team? You're just going to back out and say, "Oh, the last 5 games I'm out. Y'all have fun. I'm going to sit in my LA crib and I'll just watch y'all. Y'all, all right, what about Mario Williams? The dude that followed you from Oklahoma, your boy, your receiver. You just going to give up on him? And you want to sit there and he's all sad and crying. Man, you ain't sad. You ain't crying. You're already asking NFL teams for part ownership in whoever drafts you. Get a hold of yourself, dog. You're not all that. You're not even the best quarterback in your conference.
No.
The media is just hyping you up right now, and you need to have a reality check. And then you got dudes on ESPN and Fox saying this stuff that you should sit out and not play. All right, well, guess what? You're already making over $1 million in NIL. So why are you worried about money? Why are you worried about money? Because it's greed. You're greedy and you want more money, so you want to give up on the school and the university that gave you a scholarship and the guys that have blood, sweat, and tears with you through the spring games and the fall workouts, summer workouts, and fall camp, and you just want to give up. Man, get out of here! I'm that tweet. I never want to see it again. I think Emmanuel Acho, I think he needs to delete Twitter for the rest of the day, bro. Like, horrible. What you're sending, the message you're sending to the youth in this country, when things go bad, you just give up. And I don't rock with that, bro. I don't rock with that at all.
Yeah, I said it. I think I said it last week in reference to some of the stuff going on inside the Auburn locker room.
Yeah.
Watch some Kobe highlights. Watch some Kobe highlights because I went to a Kobe game one time, Blake, in New Orleans, where the Lakers were down by 20 points. And nobody in New Orleans Pelicans gear, well, it was Hornets at the time, nobody in New Orleans gear had any belief their team was going to win. You know why? Because 24 was over there in that purple and gold. And you know what happened in that second half? Like clockwork, brother. Like clockwork. The boy dropped 30 in the second half, and the Lakers won the game by 6 because you already know what some people are about.
Yep.
And, yeah, that tweet right there tells me everything that Sam Alacho is about. And any quarterback that ever paints fingernails of his would not be on my quarterback board, brother. I don't care how well you can sling that thing. You wouldn't be on my board because I already know what I'm getting right there. Not a quarterback. I want a dog, and I ain't never. You can't point out a dog to me that points his fingernails. And I'll stand on that. Appreciate y'all for watching the video. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. 7 o'clock Central Time, Tuesday, the live show. We will be back. And we'll put on our book shoes. And we'll try to find a way to tell you guys how this week Auburn might be able to find a win. Until then, man, I know it's no fun. Losing sucks. Appreciate you guys for still hitting the play button and watching this, man. War Damn Eagle. We love you all. We'll see you guys Tuesday night.
War damn, baby.